Shalom, saints. Today, I want to share with you about God's faithfulness in scattering those who conspire against His children. It is a reminder that no matter how strong the opposition may be, God is always on our side, protecting and guiding us through every challenge. 1 John chapter 4 verse 4 says, "Greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world." Most of us have experienced moments when our enemies gathered and conspired against us, seeking to scatter our hopes, dreams, and faith. But remember, as believers, we have the strength and power to overcome any adversity that comes our way. From Daniel in the lion's den to David and Goliath, God's people have always encountered adversity. To face our enemies, we must first understand the nature of the opposition we may encounter. Our enemies can take many forms, whether they are physical, emotional, or spiritual. However, we must remember that our battle is not against flesh and blood but against the spiritual forces of darkness, Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12. Therefore, we must be prepared to face our enemies with spiritual weapons. When our enemies gather and conspire against us, it is easy to feel overwhelmed and discouraged. Let us turn our Bibles to Genesis chapter 11 verses 1 to 9, where we find the story of the Tower of Babel. In this passage, we learn that the people of the earth united in their desire to build a great city and a tower that would reach the heavens. Their intentions were driven by pride and a desire to make a name for themselves. Their unity was not in alignment with God's plan for them. Seeing their unity and arrogance, God decided to intervene. "Let's go down and confuse their language so they won't be able to understand each other," so said God, Genesis chapter 11 verse 7. By scattering the people and confusing their languages, God thwarted their plans and put an end to their conspiracy. Unity is a powerful force, but it must be aligned with God's will. When our unity is centered on God and His purposes, it becomes a force that cannot be easily broken. This story serves as a reminder that God has the final say, irrespective of how strong or cohesive the opposition may appear to be. He can scatter those who gather to conspire against us and frustrate their plans. Just as God scattered the conspirators in the Tower of Babel, He promises to protect and guide His children today. We can put our faith in His dependability and depend on His wisdom to guide us through opposition and conspiracies. The people at Babel were motivated by pride and a desire for self-glory, contrary to what God expects from His children. When we humble ourselves before God, He lifts us up and gives us His abundant blessings. James chapter 4 verse 10 says, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and He will exalt you." According to Psalm chapter 46 verse 1, when things get tough, God, our strength and refuge, is always willing to lend a hand. God assures us in Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10, saying, "Do not be alarmed or afraid, for He is our God and He will strengthen, assist, and sustain us with His righteous right hand." We must trust in these promises and lean on God's strength to face our enemies with confidence. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 to 6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all our hearts and not lean on our understanding. We have to admit that the ways of God are higher than ours, and that His wisdom is greater than ours. By seeking His guidance, through prayer, and through His word, we can discern the best course of action when faced with opposition. In the face of opposition, it is essential to stand firm in our faith. Our faith is what anchors us and gives us the strength to endure. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1 reminds us that faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. We must hold on to the promises of God and trust that He is working all things together for our good, Romans chapter 8 verse 28. We must stand firm in the knowledge that God is in control and will bring victory in His perfect timing. We have a powerful and loving God who fights for us.